with a burn. Looking to the left, firing, caught, touchdown!
Welcome inside TCO Studios. I'm Tatum Everett with the Vikings Entertainment Network. Next weekend, the Vikings kick off the 2023 regular season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right here on Fox. Kickoff is at noon. So this weekend, we thought we would relive the 1998 season opener against who else but the Buccaneers. It was a thrilling 31-7 victory that catapulted the team into one of the most magical runs in franchise history. We'll rehash the game with the biggest names and personalities from the 98 season, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this re-airing of the 1998 season opener.
We are live at the Metrodome in Minneapolis for a great NFC Central Division matchup. Two playoff teams last season looking for more this season. It's the Minnesota Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new season of the NFL on Fox. I'm Sam Rosen, along with the coach, Jerry Glanville.
Let's welcome in former Vikings linebacker Pete Bercich, now serving as the Vikings analyst on the radio network. But Pete, you were on this team there for this wonderful 1998 ride. What was it like to be a part of that team running out for the first time for this game in particular?
It was good to have that game at home because we always struggled in Tampa Bay. It's historically, it was back when the NFC Central consisted of the Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, and then for some reason you had to go down to Tampa Bay every year. And so it was good to have that game at home. We knew we were going to be good. We knew we were going to be a playoff team, but I think, and this game shows it, is the addition of Randy Moss to our offense was like glazing a stick of dynamite. They were just so good, so dynamic, and Brad Johnson leads us out of the gate like we were all hoping he would.
Forced back and thrown down by Rondé Barber around the 20-yard line. And the Vikings go on offense. Brad Johnson back at quarterback. He was rolling along last season when he was injured early in December, had the off-season neck surgery. But he is back and healthy, and he's got a great offensive line. Randall McDaniel, the left guard, 9-time Pro Bowler. In the backfield, Robert Smith rushed for over 1,200 yards last season. Cris Carter, fourth all-time in touchdown receptions.
Here for this 98 replay, it wouldn't be right if we didn't have Robert Smith joining us, former Vikings running back. And Robert, that was quite a year for you guys. What was it like to take the field with this group in particular in that first game?
Well, it was amazing. I mean, the offense was so good in '97. And I remember when we sat around in the facility, the old facility, not the new fancy one that you get to sit around in, we would watch ESPN and we'd see the highlights. And we saw Randy Moss on the highlights with Marshall and just were amazed by what he could do. And then on draft day, seeing him drop all the way down to 21, it was just like, it's just not going to be fair. It was kind of funny, actually, just thinking about all the things that we'd be able to do. And then seeing him in training camp the first time, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm just saying this for context. I'd been around a lot of great athletes. When I was at Ohio State, I was in a race against Carl Lewis, or with Carl Lewis, I should say. I had seen Deion Sanders play, obviously had Cris Carter and John Randle on my team. But seeing Randy that first time in training camp it was incredible. He just moved differently than everybody else. And I remember I spoke to my agent over that first break after the first practice we had, and he said, "What did you think of Randy Moss?" I said, "Oh, it doesn't take some kind of football savant here, but I said if he stays healthy, he's going to be a Hall of Famer." Like I've never seen anybody move like him, and it wasn't just the speed, wasn't the lateral movement, it was the ease with which he moved and the way that he snagged the ball out of the air. And seeing him in that first game, it was what we had already seen. What we saw in shorts just translated perfectly to the field.
And as luck would have it, we have the man who threw Randy Moss his first NFL catch, former Vikings quarterback Brad Johnson. Brad, thanks for being here for the Vikings replay. At what point do you remember that Randy Moss, or what point do you remember thinking Randy Moss is going to be super special?
Well, as soon as we drafted him, he coming out of Marshall. He was the Fred Blitnikoff Award winner. Had watched all the highlights on him. When he got to us in mini camps and training camps, we knew how good he was. What we didn't know is how great he was. And the thing about Randy was he was 6'4", ran a 4.3, but he was fast, and he was as fast as he needed to be to go get the ball. So he had tremendous hands, extremely smart, and his competitive will was undeniable. And he came to the perfect place in our system with Cris Carter, Jake Reed, Denny Green, and Brian Billick as the play callers and the support system. There's a reason why he's a Hall of Famer, and it was special to play with him.
Well, you got the ball to him right out of the gate. Was there any hesitation or in forming that relationship with a rookie?
As soon as Randy came into training camp, he demanded the ball, wanted the ball. He was a guy you could depend on, ran great routes, extremely great with his hands. But the first play of the game for him was the play was called trips left, scat left, 6-16 wide pivot. And basically it's a little curl route for him to the left. It moved the chains, and so it's just easy to throw with him without no hesitation.
There's that memory at work. I have a feeling we'll be hearing more about from you on those in just a bit as this Vikings team continues to run up the score on the Bucs.
Maybe Palmer pushed off. I didn't see it. They'll use Palmer in the backfield, but he can play like a wide receiver. He can come out and play in space. Oh, yeah, there's the push and shove.
Jake Reed, the man.
Jake Reed, without question.
Number 86, offense. Still third down.
Nice job by the officials seeing the shield or pick, pushing off, letting Palmer be by himself in the flat.
One of the best in the business, the referee this afternoon, Johnny Greer.
Johnny Greer keeps the ball game going. You won't have much time to go out and get see the refrigerator. This game will be played fast at a fast pace, fast speed.
Early test for the Vikings.
4 wide receivers.
Yep. On 3rd and long, Johnson over the middle too high, deflected by Anthony Parker, falls incomplete. And so the Bucs defense stops the Vikings on their first series.
Well, Brad Johnson had to relearn how to throw, Sam. He told us yesterday that after the surgery, he didn't flick his wrist. This is a high ball by Brad Johnson, which you're not used to seeing. The ball's overthrown, but he had to watch film from a year ago and study how he flicked his wrist, because that's what he lost after the neck surgery.
Mitch Berger booms it high. Carl Williams waves for a fair catch and takes it around the 13-yard line. 11:03 to go in the first quarter. The Vikings punt it away. A 45-yard punt for Mitch Berger. We'll be right back. From the Mall of America into the Dome, and Trent Dilfer is getting set to take his team on offense. A lot of pressure on Trent Dilfer.
Probably unappreciated in his own hometown, but a very good quarterback.
Mike Allstott and Warwick Dunn in the backfield. That's Dave Moore, the tight end, resetting. And it's Warwick Dunn, Rookie of the Year in the NFC last season, up to the 19-yard line. Take a look at the Bucs offense. Dilfer had a great year for him last season, his best as a pro. 21 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, as his team went to the second round of the playoffs. The offensive line, Tony Mayberry, the big guy in the middle. Jerry Wunsch, second-year man out of Wisconsin, starting his first NFL game. Riddell Anthony and Bert Emanuel, the wideouts. Jacquez Green is inactive. Dilfer had trouble on the staff. It completes to the second tight end, Patrick Hape, number 82. Wayne Rudd in on the stop. Look at Jerry Ball, a big defensive tackle. Here's the Vikes defense. John Randle led the NFL in sacks with 15.5 last season. Wayne Clemens back at starter as Stellan Colonnay is out. Ed McDaniel, very important man in the middle. Wayne Rudd, the playmaker. They expect him to be this season. Jimmy Hitchcock, new cornerback, came over from New England. Allstott and Neal in the backfield, the Rhino backfield. Lorenzo Neal, the fullback, the tailback, Allstott is brought down. And the fans love it. Jerry Ball made the stop, and Dwayne Rudd, he's been jumping up and down since pregame warmups, Jeff.
He was ready to play yesterday. Now watch, Mike Alstott does not follow Neal. Neal goes wide, and you'll see Alstott did not follow him, tried to break it back inside because the Vikings had penetration. Good penetrating defensive line, great quickness.
Tommy Barnhart is deep to punt, high snap. Gets it away toward the sideline. David Palmer comes up, it bounces, it hit.
Not a good punt at all.
Bucks player, and it is down at the 44-yard line. We'll be set to go with the Vikings on offense when we come back. Tony Dungy in his third year as head man of the Tampa Bay Bucks after 4 years as defensive coordinator under Denny Green here in Minnesota. Denny Green, the new look. He's lost 65 pounds.
And both coaches have a new extension on their contracts. Both feeling pretty good.
Brad Johnson on first down from the 43. Swings it out to Charles Evans, the fullback. Breaks a tackle. Wrestled down inside the 45. Jeff Gooch, number 50, in on the tackle. Charles Evans, the sixth-year fullback.
And watch Evans, when all else fails, go to the screen. If you can't run and you can't throw deep, get yourself loosened up with a completion, a little short throw. And the way the Buccaneers run upfield with their defensive line, good play. Screen out to the flat.
First down, Vikings at the Bucks 43. Bucks in a nickel defense. 5 defensive backs in. Johnson on first down, fake, and looking to go deep. Way down for Randy Moss, and he's out of bounds. Moss had a hold up. You know, the Vikings quarterbacks can't outthrow Randy Moss.
He has so much speed that every long pass I see him going out for, I see him waiting for the football. He's underthrowing. Watch him go downfield, and they underthrow him. He's got him beat. Now they're waiting on the ball. And the best thing he does is make an adjustment to a bad throw. That's what I saw in the preseason.
Excellent receiver, had a terrific preseason. Second down, 3 wide still in. Robert Smith, the lone setback. Smith on second down. Not much of a hole, got a couple of yards before he was pulled down around the 40-yard line. Bring up a 3rd and long for the Vikings. As they unpile, Robert Smith rushed for over 1,200 yards last season.
On the 98 replay show, we've got Vikings running back Robert Smith. When did you know this group as a whole was going to be special?
Well, we knew it beforehand, quite honestly. Again, going back to the 97 season, we had most of those pieces in place. The offensive line was tremendous. We had a great running game, myself and Leroy Horde. You had solid tight ends. Really everything on the offense was great, and a lot of energy defensively. Guys just ran around and made plays, and it seemed corny. People talk about the preseason not really meaning anything, and of course the games don't count. But we won all the preseason games, came back and won one of the games to go undefeated in that preseason, and it was just a different feel. The entire season, there was a completely different feel in training camp and then into that first game.
Blocking back says, "Oh, I got one. I better go get him." And he moved too quick.
3rd and 13 from the Bucks 45. Palmer remains in as the lone setback. Everybody out. Johnson going deep left side for Jake Reed. And he ran into the defender, Charles Mincy. The flag goes down. And it looks to be against the Bucks.
Oh, I didn't think that was pass interference. I thought it was 2 people going for the football. Kind of surprised at this call.
And now another flag has gone down.
Watch.
2 flags down on the field.
Mincy and Reed both going for the football, Sam. And I just don't know how they call this a penalty. I thought they were both trying to get to the football. Any pass interference was totally unintentional. And I think that's what they're discussing. They're asking, was he trying to go to the football? Was his head turned around?
Johnny Greer will fill us in.
We have multiple fouls on the play. Pass interference, number 22, defense. Unsportsmanlike unsportsmanlike conduct, number 47 and number 55, defense, taking the helmet off. Both penalties were being enforced.
John Lynch and Derek Brooks took the helmets off after the call.
Well, I think they saw this. Watch it. It's in your left-hand corner. Oh, boy, I don't know how you ever make that a call. That's a bad call, and that's why Lynch. Well, I question that. I guess they feel Mincy is cutting him off, not allowing him to run through on his route, but Mincy's head was back, trying to make a play on the ball.
First and goal at the 2 tight ends in there. The play fake from Johnson. He throws deep in the end zone, incomplete. Try to get it to Cris Carter. Donnie Abraham with good coverage on the play.
Well, you call it Donnie Abraham. You can't play any better defensive corner coverage than that in the end zone. Excellent job.
Brings up a second and goal on the 2-yard line. Vikings go with 2 tight ends. Andrew Glover and Hunter Goodwin. Goodwin to the right, Glover left.
Cris Carter by himself all the way out there with Donnie Abraham.
And off to Leroy Horde, and he stopped. John Lynch in on the tackle, along with Derek Brooks. Looked like there was a hole there, and Lynch filled it.
Lynch, as everybody knows that watches this game, may be the best hitting strong safety in the National Football League. He's like a linebacker. He'll come in right from the outside and make the big hit. You talked to the coach, Dennis Green, about Lynch.
Dennis Green and Brian Billick, the offensive coordinator, they say he's the hardest hitter in the NFC. In the safety position. That's Charles Evans shaking up on the play. He was the lead blocker, the fullback. Here's Brian Billick. He almost signed with the Dallas Cowboys. And when there was a little uncertainty about the staff in the offseason, but then when Denny Green was coming back, Denny Green has got tremendously loyal coaches. He decided to come back. Tony Dungy checking things out as his defense was the best in the red zone in the NFL last season.
Well, you got to believe in your goal line defense. They have them in a tough situation. This is really a throwing down because of where they're at on the field with a 3rd down.
Vikings with 3 wides in the line of 4 wides now. No tight end, 4 wide receivers. Leroy Horde is the setback.
Nobody left in the backfield. He's in motion.
Everybody's going. Johnson throws. Touchdown Vikings. Cris Carter with his 90th career touchdown. He is 4th in NFL history.
Joining us on this 98 replay is Pro Football Hall of Famer Cris Carter. And Cris, thanks for being here. We're excited to kind of take a look back at this exciting 1998 Vikings team and this game in particular. We just saw you score the touchdown there. What did you see in that play?
Well, especially going against Tampa, they were very familiar with our offense. So they're going to play a lot of zone. They didn't like to match up with us one-on-one. So you have to be able to find the soft spots in the zone. And that's what I was trying to do on that reception, trying to get in between the defenders, to give the quarterback a window to be able to throw it in so I could be able to make a tight catch to be able to get the score, which I like doing anyway.
Yeah, you guys were 4 wide with no tight end. Was that something that you guys did often in the red zone?
Well, we knew that Tampa, they always like to leave at least 2 linebackers on the field. And when you go into an empty set, you really start dictating to the defense what you're going to do to them, and you can make them play only certain coverages. And we knew that they wouldn't play man-to-man. We knew that they wouldn't blitz. So we knew they'd give us a nice soft zone coverage, and we had a great route called against that coverage, and we were able to execute.
Cris Carter, jab, step, open, a little easy throw. Nice job by the Vikings. Spread that excellent defense of the Buccaneers all over the field.
And Brad Johnson.
A little excited.
He loved that.
He loved that one.
Well, with the Vikings on the board, we welcome back former Vikings quarterback Brad Johnson to talk about this touchdown throw to Cris Carter. What do you remember about the first score of the season?
Playing against Tampa Bay, it's a tone setter, the first game of the season. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Obviously, eventually Hall of Famers and Warren Sapp and John Lynch and Derek Brooks and Rondé Barber, all the above. And so Tony Dungy had been with us for 5 years before as our defense coordinator, so it was a chess match all across the board. The first touchdown was 3rd and 2 at the 2-yard line. The play for us was 4 wides. We had a rocket right spear. It's called Liz Dallas. Basically, it was a little stick route by Cris Carter with David Palmer in the flat. And just a big, to score 7 points early in the game like that, to take the lead, I was definitely stoked. I was kind of pumping my fist at eventually Warren Sapp, one of my teammates. But we needed that touchdown just to set the tone. So it was a great to go up 7-0.
Yeah, it's been said that Cris Carter, all he does is score touchdowns. He has the greatest hands in the NFL. What do you think about those thoughts?
Without a doubt, he had the best hands. I thought he was an incredible. I thought he's the best hands ever to play the game. He was tremendous at sideline catches, at red zone catches. He knew how to use his body, had a great awareness where the defender was, extremely smart, and could haul the ball in with one hand or however the play needed to be made. And there's a reason why he became a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever play.
The play fake. As time throws short, complete to Warrick Dunn. And he's brought down across the 45 up to the 47. Combination of Dwayne Rudd and Ed McDaniel, 12-yard pickup on the play.
Not his first choice. Great job by Trent Dilfer. He looked deep. Deep was covered. He ends up throwing the ball to the guy he fakes to. He fakes right there, and the back comes through, and he's wide open. Watch Trent's eyes. He looks downfield, doesn't like it, finds a little back sitting in the middle, and if he'll take what they give him, there'll be a little underneath, easy throws.
Trent Dilfer, 5th year out of Fresno State. Dave Moore, the tight end. Sets on the left side. Warrick Dunn, quick to the hole. Slip the tackle. Breaking outside. Another couple of moves as he brought down across the 40-yard line. Another first down for the Bucs. Corey Fuller and Robert Griffith on the stop of the quick Warrick Dunn.
You said quick, and watch his feet. Watch his cut. Excellent vision. You have to be able to see to do this. He starts off one side, doesn't like it, goes the other way, starts off to your right in your living room, breaks it back, good cutback, runs away from Robert Griffin, one of the best hitting safeties, and Robert keeps on chasing him, gets a little bit help from Corey Fuller.
Bucs at the Vikings, 38-yard line. Dunn goes in motion. Short drop, the pump fake, over the middle short, and complete to Allstott. Fumble, Vikings have it.
And look who it is joining us here on Vikings Replay. It's the man himself, John Randle, former Vikings defensive lineman who's got the nice fumble recovery there. John, what did you see on that play?
Oh, my God. What I saw, or what I'm thinking every play is that I can make an impact on every play. And so that fumble, I just remember, I think it was just seeing the ball or something, but it was just seeing the ball. I think I remember that, and just trying to get on it. And it felt like the play was going in slow motion. It felt like it took me 10 minutes to get to the ball or get on the ball. But that's what I can remember about that play. That it took a long. It felt as if it took a long time, but I know it didn't. But that's what it felt like.
That's Red McCombs, your new best friend.
I tell you what he's done, the brand new owner for the Minnesota Vikings. He's put pride back in wearing purple. Oh, what a hit.
Big hit on Robert Smith.
Wow, that's got to be Lynch. When you see a guy bounce like that, that's got to be Lynch.
Let's look and listen on this play.
This is why I would buy a ticket to watch this guy play. He plays like it's 1950. Full speed contact, no fair dodging.
Oh, man.
Hello!
You feel that in your living room.
Oh, you got to love this guy.
And he used to be a pitcher, but he likes football instead.
He used to play quarterback. He said, I got to play safety to get in the game, so he gave up being a quarterback at Stanford.
Johnson on second down. Short to Robert Smith with room. Cross midfield. To the 48-yard line where Anthony Parker finally brought him down. Johnson went to the safety valve. And then it was a good pickup on the play.
Well, we're seeing a mirror of offenses and defenses. Both teams run very similar offenses, and they run the exact same defenses. So when the downfield wide receivers are covered, it's a dump off to the back in the middle. You see both teams doing that.
Leroy Horde is now in its setback. 3 wide receivers in for the Vikings. In motion, Andrew Glover. Sprint out by Johnson, deep down the left sideline for Moss. He juggles, he's got it, touchdown!
Cris Carter back here on the 98 replay show. And Chris, that was an incredible catch by Randy. You're the first one to run up to him and celebrate. What were you so excited about seeing?
Well, it was a perfect play call, and we knew that potentially Brad might have a hard time because in practice when we ran this play, Brad had a hard time reaching Randy. And we knew at game speed. So Brad, you know, it was designed to maybe go a little bit further to the outside, a little more bootleg, and then throw it back over his shoulder. But Brad realized in practice, I'm not going to be able to catch this kid. So when we ran it in the game, Brad pulled up a little bit early and makes a good throw. He still underthrows him a little bit. Randy still has to slow down. And the defender makes a play on the ball, but Randy's overall athleticism, he's able to finish the play. And that's what Vikings fans knew that they were going to be able to see for a long time, was Randy Moss making special plays. And that was one to start the season. And it was a great play call against that defense and exactly what we expected for them to do. But you get the ball around Randy, then something special can happen. And that's what Brad was able to do on the throw.
Okay, Randy Moss gets his first touchdown of his NFL career. Compliments of former Vikings quarterback Brad Johnson. Do you remember that play call?
I do. The play was called double left Y zap, speed right bomb. And basically, we knew if we're in a 2-by-2 formation, we'd shift it over the tight end. We'd kind of catch him in man-to-man, a cover 3 kind of coverage. Randy on that particular play, he's going to run like a square in, a 15-yard square in, kind of hesitate, and then take it over the top for a speed right bomb. So basically, it's a sprint out to my right, max protection with the tight end and the back blocking on the backside. And basically, you just go to your right and throw it as far as you could. And he made a great catch. I threw a little bit behind it. You know, he made the bobble catch. It was the first of many for his Hall of Fame career. It was the beginning of something great. His greatness. So I'm very thankful to say I was the first one to ever throw his first touchdown pass.
Was off 7-8 yards. You got to throw that 3-step drop. So a nice job by Trent. Went 1-2, fired the football in the corner. Number 37, Jimmy Hitchcock's not even close. Take a look at this. He's way off. There's all the cushion. Get him the football.
They stay with the Rhino backfield on second and less than a yard. Anthony goes in motion. And it's Allstott for a first down and a lot more. Good job. Picked up about 7 on the play. Robert Griffith in on the stop on Mike Allstott, whose rushing yardage went up last season.
Watch him run here. Watch him run over people.
What's that?
That's the Mike Allstott. That's the A-train. He's got the A-train, and the next stop on this, he gave me this whistle before the ball game. So if I'm running over people, give it a toot.
Not bad.
Not bad, huh? I like the sound.
The A-train.
The A-train. Unfortunately, he fumbled to set up that long touchdown pass.
And the A-train carries outside. Across the 40 to the 42-yard line. As time winds down in the first quarter here.
When you see Allstott, you say, here's a big bruising fullback. He's going to run over people. He's going to crush it. Wrong. He really is a guy that makes cuts and makes people miss. And a guy this size that can make you miss is really a rarity in the National Football League.
The Vikings have done what they wanted to do. They've gotten a big lead. They lead 14-0. The Bucs, not necessarily built as a comeback team, have a long way to go. Back for the second quarter in a moment.
I'd make a tight end on her. You talk about a good tight end. He'd knock some people around.
Allstott cuts back down around the 43-yard line. Bring up a 3rd and short for the Bucs.
What Tampa Bay hasn't done is change their game plan. They're down 14-0. They had a fumble, ended up a touchdown pass. They had a bad call on a pass interference, but they're going to stay with their game plan all the way to the fourth quarter. You said earlier they're not a big comeback team. They don't want to get down 21, so they'll just stick to what they like to do, and that's chug the football.
Nickel defense for the Vikings. Tony Williams, number 94, in as a pass rusher on the line. 5 defensive backs in. 4 wides for Tampa Bay. Short drop. Dilfer with a quick pitch. Bert Emanuel with a first down. Just across midfield, Ed McDaniel made the stop on Bert Emanuel.
You gotta love Trent Dilfer on a 3-step drop. This is his best throw again. His best throws today. Out 1, 2, fire. And the ball comes out. Nobody's near him. And the good Minnesota Viking pass rush won't be a factor. The ball right where it has to be. Oh, man, he gets stuck. Woo! Ed McDaniel, huh? Did he stick it?
Yeah. Bert Emanuel, 4-year deal, over $16 million. Not bad as a free agent. All start and done in the backfield. Dilfer. Bert Emanuel, first down inside the 30-yard line. Well, it took time for Dilfer and Emanuel to get going in preseason, but they're starting off the regular season sharp.
Well, guess what? Watch the reaction to the throw behind him. And I think what's good here, Bert Emanuel's getting him a little bit of Randy Moss. The ball doesn't have to be right on the money. A little bit back behind him. Still a good throw. And the good throws are coming off the 3-step drop for Trent. Don't let the Vikings defensive line get near you. Go 1, 2, fire.
Dilfer 7 for 7, 21-yard pickup for
Just
the
change
Bucs.
the play. Just change the play. When he grabbed his face mask, he changed the play.
Warwick Dunn, he stopped. Flag goes down late. Ed McDaniel, the middle linebacker, came up to make the play.
And a flag.
McDaniel moved in as the starting middle linebacker late last season when Jeff Brady was injured. It's going to be a hold against the Vikings.
Brady got hurt, and all of a sudden they found Dwayne Rudd was so good you had to get him in there, and that's why they moved Ed McDaniel.
My apologies, holding against the Bucs.
Holding, number 64, offense.
George
Still
Diaz.
first down.
The left guard, George Diaz, called for the hold.
Let's take a look right here, see what he does. Officials caught him. Oh, made a tackle. Ended up tackling Jerry Ball.
Can't do that, can you?
No, you can't do that.
Big Jerry's still going strong, isn't he? Jerry Ball?
Jerry Ball, I think the reason he continues to play well, he was such a good shot putter. In college, he had that great 3-yard quickness to put the shot, and you still see 3-yard quickness out of it.
Allstein, man in motion, setting. Dilfer with time, connects with Bert Emanuel again. Jimmy Hitchcock on the coverage.
I think when they gave him $4 million, they told the quarterback, make him earn it. It's going to be an out route to the sideline. It's going to be down and away throw, so either he catches it or nobody gets it. Hitchcock late on the drive.
Bert Emanuel, who was a quarterback in college, came to the NFL, switched to wide receiver, and he has done it well. Second.
Audible. Look at the quarterback. Changing the play.
On 2nd and 6. Short drop and connects with Bert Emanuel again. Short of a first down. Time for a game break. For that, let's go to Kevin Frazier at the Fox Network Center in LA for an NFL update. Kevin.
Leroy Butler making the play, and it's funny because you asked Mike Lynch who he liked.
Yeah.
And Lynch, the safety said, only guy I really like, John Lynch, the only guy I really like is Leroy Butler.
3rd and 1. Rhino backfield with 2 tight ends. Allstein is stopped short, trying to get away. And they pile him up short of a first down. Vikings defense comes up big.
John Randle back with us on Vikings Replay. How did a play like that set the tone for the defense for the rest of the game?
It was huge because our defense, the Vikings, we weren't known for our defense. Of course, we were known for Cris Carter, Randy, and Jake Reed. So everybody looked for our offense to be playmakers. And I think the night before, the defense we had discussed some way that we can make an impact to help our offense. And that play did that. I mean, it did it in the first quarter. Because as defensive guys, you're already thinking, we got to do something in the first half. We know we got a potent offense. We got a heck of a special team, but we're not really known for our defense. And so if we can make a play, it just kind of shows that we have the total package of a team.
Back in the Metrodome in Minneapolis, where the Vikings have a 14-0 lead. They go on offense after stopping the Bucs. Robert Smith, a couple of nice moves before he's flipped down by Derek Brooks. Good pickup on the play. About 5 for Robert Smith.
Robert Smith has that excellent quickness, gets out of the blocks. You can tell he was a track star, ran the 400 meters, which is a good test of you anyway when you're running that track. That lets everybody know how tough you are.
3 wide receivers in. Randy Moss wide to the right. Buck showing blitz. And it's Robert Smith spinning and stopped short of the 40-yard line. Good hit on the play. We are very happy to be joined in the booth by the new owner of the Minnesota Vikings, Red McCombs. He's smiling. Well, you got to be happy with the way things are going, Red.
Well, I'm excited now, of course. This is a dream that I've chased all my life. And at age 70, I finally caught it. And then you guys come up here and bring one of my dearest friends in football, Jerry Glanville, with you. So it's a big day for me.
He wants your autograph, you know.
Oh, I tell you what, I think what you've done, Red, I haven't seen the pride of the purple like this in this stadium. I think you got sellouts now, and I think that's part of you. They just said in the trailer, you got the Jerry Jeff Walker Texas voice. You're going to be in the booth. You're going to replace me the second half. You got the voice.
I don't think they'll ever let me get on the mic and get paid. You know, I pay to get on the mic.
Red, you changed your position a little bit. You said you were going to talk contract with head coach Denny Green at the end of the season. Yesterday, you decided to give him a 3-year extension. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, see, the deal closed so late. We were already into camp. Games were about to start the preseason, and I just didn't feel as if it was a thing that I wanted to do. I think it's fair to him. I didn't think it was fair to me. But I got to know him a lot more quickly than what I had thought. And after about 2 months, I came up here last Monday to a players' recognition luncheon, as it were. And when I saw the feeling that those players had for each other and for this coach, I'm looking, I said, you know, what else can a coach do? He's got these guys wanting to do what he wants them to do. So it was a total switch for me, but I've done that before.
Well, you know, I'm proud of you that you could look over and see that these players love playing for this coach. And why make a change? If you got the chemistry, you got a chance to win it all this year. I hope we see you all the way over there in Miami playing in that Super Bowl. That'd be fun, huh?
Well, it's a dream come true for me. But after being up here Monday and on the plane ride on the way back, I'm thinking, you know, what else could I want a coach to do? This guy not only has got all these players wanting to play for him, but there are about 7 or 8 on the squad that he developed. He and his staff. The staff all were right with it. And I thought, well, you know, why do I want to wait? So anyway, that's what happened.
Red, what's the toughest thing an owner faces in the NFL today?
Meeting the payroll.
It's a big one, isn't it?
Well, the game is so expensive, and there's so much money involved, and there's so much competition for the entertainment dollar.
It's 3rd and 1. The Vikings had called a timeout. 3 wide receivers. David Palmer in motion. And the play outside of Randy Moss is good for a first down. This time they went short to Moss on the out pattern.
Well, they built the trips. They had a covey. They got everybody over on the quarterback's right side, and he's all alone on the other side. I'm going to show you the covey. The covey's going to go in motion. He's going to look like here's a trip. So everything's going to happen here. Guess what? It's one-on-one out there with a guy that you made a big money commitment to.
Well, you know, you really didn't have to be much of a football expert to see that this kid could play.
Robert Smith reverses, yes, and gets to midfield. And that's the owner with the cheering up here. So.
We're not allowed to cheer, Red, but you can do anything you want. You spend $250 million, you can holler.
Nice move by Robert Smith.
I couldn't help that one.
Now, did you fly in yesterday?
Yes.
San Antonio, still your home?
Yes, right. I live in San Antonio. I would never live anywhere else. That will remain my home.
2nd and 4 for the Vikings. Short drop.
Got him.
Outside and complete to Jake Reed. Dropped the football out of bounds, and they rule it incomplete. Never had possession.
Ooh, that could have been a catch and a fumble.
A bad call.
Red.
Sorry about that.
Here's a replay, Red. Red's going to officiate this one. He thinks this is a catch and a fumble.
Yeah, you'll see he had possession. But officials make mistakes. What the hell?
You got to be nice to the officials too, Red. Let's see.
Hey, Red may be right. I believe Red. Guess what,
right.
Red? All of your fans there in the stadium agree with you.
Yeah. All right.
Red, thanks for joining us. We wish you the best of luck with the Vikings. And
one thing, when you talk to Brad Johnson, we had a nice interview with him. He wants to run the football, and that's great to hear a quarterback. He wants balance.
On 3rd and 4, Johnson looking. Complete to Carter. First down, Vikings. The short passes to Carter and Moss have been very effective.
Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing zone, and you can't stop the quick slant, the short 3-step drop pass. Watch him right here. He goes in motion. Then he comes back, and the quarterback's going to do just like Trent Dilfer was, 1-2 fire, and you see laying outside zone, and you can't stop that. That's Anthony Parker. You got to come up and bump and push and shove to stop the 3-step throw.
3 wide receivers. Leroy Horde the setback. Horde hits hard in the middle. Then he gets hit at the 40-yard line. John Lynch.
Wow, could you hear that hit up here? Watch Randall McDaniel, all-pro. I think you said 9 years, left guard. He's going to pull. 64, he's going to pull and lead up. And he cleans that hole out. For Horde runs heavy, but who does Horde run into? The heaviest hit. Whoa, man, that was a good
Mincy
stick.
got in there.
Yeah, it was Charlie's. Mincy got in there. He stuck exactly like he was John Lynch.
Charles Mincy played here a couple of seasons in Minnesota. 2nd and 7. Horde tries the outside. Good run for Leroy Horde. He's got a first down at the 30-yard line. Derek Brooks finally brought him down. Leroy Horde, 9th year out of Michigan, picked up as a free agent by the Vikings in 1996.
And I like Horde. And when we were sitting interviewing the coaches, I asked Dungy, I said, Horde runs hard. He's a harder runner than Robert Smith. Not the great speed, can't break it. But he's the guy that can wear you out when your safeties are too deep. And that's what's going on. Tampa Bay safeties are playing deep, so Horde can get the run going.
3 wide receivers. Smith in the lineup. Comes out of the backfield, but the deep throw for Randy Moss. Touchdown!
And it's another one from Randy Moss. Brad Johnson here on Vikings Replay. And we've talked a lot about how special Randy and Cris are just as receivers and in pro football, really. What was it like to play alongside these and just be a part of that history?
It's incredible. This particular touchdown pass is called trips right, jet right, 748 H drag. And so basically it was a play where Randy Moss was going to catch the post or have a shot at it. And we kind of caught him close enough to do that. But whenever you have 2 receivers that eventually make the Hall of Fame, it's pretty incredible. Cris probably had the best hands ever, and Randy probably was the best deep ball threat ever. And so that's how you'd say it. And I'd say with them, you know, I think Cris had a big impact on Randy, especially as a rookie. How to work, what it took to, you know, have a career, what it took to be ready week in and week out. So as a quarterback, to have that luxury to have 2 eventually Hall of Famers, 2 game breakers, 2 game changers, is incredible to be a part of that as a quarterback. But you saw it on a daily basis of how they worked and how they played together for such a long time and how they impacted the game. They changed the way other teams drafted to defend us. They changed the way coverages took place in the NFL. It was the first time you'd really seen the ball go over the top of defenses. So basically, Cris was a backbreaker and moving the chains, and Randy was a game changer over the top with a lot of the bombs.
Here's Randy Moss after his 2nd touchdown. Look at the offensive line. They love him. Everybody knows they've got a weapon. Watch Lynch. Lynch has to come down. He'll come down in this area to stop the run because Horde's been doing so good. When he does that, the out and up happens out here against Donnie Abraham. And there's no help from the safety because he went down to stop the run. A great throw.
Yeah, great throw by Brad Johnson. Randy Moss, 4 catches, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mitch Berger's kickoff. Riddell Anthony, 1 yard deep, brings it out. Breaks it outside, comes up the sideline, juggle the ball, and went out of bounds, stepped out of bounds. They'll bring it back. Randy Moss catching a 31-yard touchdown pass from Brad Johnson. 69-yard scoring drive for the Vikings for a 21-0 lead with 6:01 to go in the first half. And what a debut for Randy Moss. Riddell Anthony stepped out of bounds on the 24. Bucks on offense. Patrick Hape sets at the left end position. Play fake. Dilfer in trouble. Drops it off to Warwick Dunn. Nice moves as he gets across the 30-yard line. Brought down by Dwayne Rudd.
And the quarterback did a good job getting that ball out in a hurry. He was going to get hit. He was going to get sacked. Good job by Dilfer. That screen will help slow down the pass rush, he hopes. But knowing the Vikings with a 21-0 lead, this changes the Vikings defense as well as the Tampa Bay's offense. The Vikings will be coming every down.
Watch number 93, John Randle, who moves around on the defensive line. He sets up outside. Dilfer is perfect, 10 for 10. But no points on the board for the Bucks. Dunn up the middle, got a couple. Hard hit by Ed McDaniel, the middle linebacker. His 7th year out of Clemson, a 5th-round draft pick in 1992. Stepping into the middle, a lot of responsibility. Not a big guy at 5'11", but real strong and good speed.
The reason he can play at 5'11", 231, he only has one gap to fill. And guess what? He just filled that gap and turned Warwick Dunn and made him go the other way. So they're different in defense. They don't give anybody 2 gaps. Everybody only has one gap to fill every play.
Bucks with the Rhino backfield as Allstott is at the top of the I on a 3rd and 1, and Dilfer calls timeout.
Timeout, Tampa Bay, number 1.
Coach Fazio, the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. Bucks are 1 for 3 on 3rd down conversion. Allstott finds an opening, dives for a 1st down. Good effort by the 3rd-year man out of Purdue, Mike Allstott.
And he had to make a play here because he was back in the backfield. And again, the Vikings had penetration. Remember, the Vikings won the last short yard. Watch everybody in purple come across the line. Watch the penetration by the Vikings. So Allstott's got to make some cuts just to get back. What a nice job by Allstott because he was in real trouble. Orlando Thomas had a shot to stop him for a no gain and missed the tackle.
Both wideouts to the left side. Dave Moore, the tight end, in motion. The play fake. Ball over the middle of Riddell Anthony. Breaks a couple of tackles. Good effort by Riddell Anthony to the 35-yard line of Minnesota. Ed McDaniel finally brought him down, and Dilfer continues to fire it in there.
I'm glad you said it. Tampa Bay's down 21-0, and guess what? Dilfer hasn't missed a pass. Every pass is right where it needs to be. They got to just keep on throwing it and quit chugging it. Nice throw, easy catch.
Riddell Anthony in his 2nd season out of Florida. He led the wide receivers in receptions last season. Dave Moore, the tight end, sets to the left side. Allstott the lone setback on the play fake. Dilfer has time. Looking deep, now drops it off to Allstott, incomplete. Nobody open downfield.
Okay, Dilfer missed that because the Vikings said enough of Trent Dilfer. We're going to play cover 2. When you go cover 2, you have to run the football. Trent Dilfer had a bootleg on, and with cover 2 means you have a corner and a safety. You got everybody double. You're going to see the corner. This corner has him along with him. This corner has him along with him. So when he runs the boot, they got 4 on 2, and Dilfer's got to run and scramble. and then tries to dump it off to Alstott in the middle. Look at the double coverage everywhere. Good job by the Vikings. They're not going to let him keep throwing the football.
On 2nd and 10, there's pressure. Dilfer unloads and completes to Alstott. A first down inside the 25-yard line, knocked out at the 22 by Dixon Edwards.
I thought I saw a sack, and then I saw a good tackle by the offensive line. Watch the pressure coming up through here, and the offensive line knows how to play. Watch the right there, and that's the center. Tony Mayberry said, "You're not getting my quarterback." The best tackle today by the center, Tony Mayberry. He saved the quarterback and allowed him to make that play.
Good receiver. Alstott picked up 15 on the play. First down, Bucks at the Vikings 21. Alstott and Dunn in the backfield. Warwick Dunn cuts back. Good hole. Spins inside the 15. Gets down to about the 12. Orlando Thomas, number 42, back in as a starter for Minnesota in the secondary. Very important man for the Vikings. Warwick Dunn with a good move.
They'll run this down in 2 minutes. That's their only enemy they got right now. They're moving the ball excellent.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe you're down 21-0 when you look that good. I know he can block.
2nd and a yard for Tampa Bay at the Vikings 12. The play fake, Dilfer chased by John Randle to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Robert Griffith covering on the play. Riddell Anthony, the intended receiver.
What about Trent Dilfer? You said he's being chased by John Randle. Watch this guy escape and try to make a play. Play action fake. Nobody's open. He feels the heat coming from behind. This is John Randle chasing him. Puts it up there. Oh, that's got to be a touchdown.
Yeah.
Hey, what's wrong? What's wrong?
Never had possession. Griffith,
man,
with the play, the defensive play. Bucks are 2 for 4 on 3rd down conversions. They got the Rhino backfield on 3rd and 1. Neal and Alstott. Alstott carrying, hops over one man, doesn't get the first down. Great job by the Vikings. Dixon Edwards and Dwayne Rudd, the 2 outside linebackers, in on the play.
The problem I see with Tampa Bay on short yardage, they're running east and west. They're not going right after the Vikings. The Vikings are too fast. They try to carry this ball all the way to the outside on the 3rd and 1, and there's too much speed. Look at that Dwayne Rudd. He can run. They can all run. You got to go right at him. 4th down, they're going for it.
They lost 2. Tony Dungy needs big points. Down by 21. It's 4th and 3 at the 14. Dilfer. Incomplete. Intended for Bert Emanuel. And again, the Vikings defense comes up big. Jimmy Hitchcock on the coverage.
Joining us here on the 98 Replay Show, we have former Vikings linebacker Pete Bercich here to talk about this play in particular. Pete, you guys were up by 3 touchdowns. You're in the red zone. You make a huge 4th down stop. What did that do, especially before the half, for the defense?
I think it was a big stop, and just you don't want to give the opposing team any momentum, right, going into halftime. So, Tony Dungy, we knew he's a defensive-minded coach. He just wanted to get some points on the board. He got aggressive though at this time, and so for him to try to, push his offense and give him a shot in the arm and say, even though it's 4th down, we're going to keep rolling, but we ended up stopping him. So that, I think, totally flips the momentum going into halftime. And a couple other things that happened, especially with Dilfer coming out of the game.
Well, speaking of how the defense can make huge plays in this game, John Randle back with us on Vikings Replay, and this 4th down stop in the red zone right before halftime couldn't have been more critical.
Yes, for us it was huge. I mean, at that point, once again, that defense, we weren't really known for our defense, and the red zone people. It was said that we couldn't stop anybody from running the ball. We couldn't stop anybody for in the red zone. And for us, once again, we were kind of an undersized defense. We weren't big guys, and so for us to be able to stop somebody in the red zone was huge. And to do that, to take away the momentum from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was huge. And anytime you can do that from Tampa, you really just stop their offense.
With scores and highlights, Joe Buck following Mark McGuire in St. Louis. Don't forget, Cardinals and Reds on Fox this afternoon following football, and the Fox Sports ticker has got all the up-to-date stats, up to the second stats.
I think what's really hurting this game is Alsted has 3 carries for minus yardage on short yardage situations because the Bucks are running sideways.
Another timeout for Tampa Bay as Denny Green's team taking the knee, trying to kill the clock. And
about the power of protein with Dennis Green. We're going to show you Dennis Green from last year and Dennis Green from now. He bought a book called Power of Protein. This is the Dennis Green.
Want to get it right. Protein Power.
I'm the wrong way. I said, okay, it's Protein Power. Here's Dennis Green last year.
Wow.
Fully grown. Hasn't missed a meal. Here's the new Dennis Green. He says he's eating all he wants, but he's only eating protein, no sugar.
Low carbs, no sugar. Lost 65 pounds. His goal was to lose 50 before his 50th birthday. He's done that.
I told him his new goal is to eat his way to the Super Bowl with protein.
Well, his goal is to get to the Super Bowl before he's 50, and the Super Bowl this year in Miami is 3 weeks before his birthday.
I'm starting that diet. I started last night at 11 o'clock at night.
How you doing?
So far, I feel thin.
Leroy Horde on the carry, and the Bucks bring him down. Bucks are out of timeout.
Good job by the Bucks using all their timeouts with a chance to block a punt. They're going to force him to punt, and what they should do is line up 10-man and try to make a play, try to get a hand on the ball, score with your special teams.
Vikings sent in the punting unit. Pass interference penalty against Tampa Bay was huge as Minnesota went in for their first score. A 1-yard touchdown pass to Cris Carter following, and then the turnover, the fumble by Mike Alstott, and the Vikings driving down for their second touchdown. Mitch Berger gets it away. Good high kick. Carl Williams deep for the Bucks at his own 39. Nice moves by Williams. Gets to the outside. Can he break it? He's brought down by Mo Williams. Outstanding special teams player. 47-yard punt by Mitch Berger. The Vikings head to the locker room with a 21-0 lead on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Visa halftime report next. Randy Moss said he knows he lost some money by dropping down from the top 5 in the draft to number 21, but he figures down the road he'll make it up.
And what was interesting, we always ask the rookies with the signing bonus, what's the first thing that you bought? And Randy Moss said, I really didn't buy anything. Haven't bought anything yet.
Well, you know, the other factor, Jerry, I think, is he's come into a real good situation. Doesn't have to be the number 1 guy. They've got 2 great receivers here in Cris Carter and Jake Reed.
Well, he's surrounded by a lot of good football players. He's surrounded by a good football team.
Mitch Berger to kick off for the Vikings. Riddell Anthony is deep for Tampa Bay as we start the second half. And the strong leg of Berger puts Anthony 8 yards deep, and he decides to bring it out. In trouble. Gets away from Ramos McDonald. Couple of nice moves. Gets to the 18. Late flag comes in. Brought down on the play by Mo Williams.
Well, a bad decision. The rule of thumb is 5 yards or deeper, stay in. Anthony was, as you called, 8 yards deep. When you come out 8 yards deep, you got a shot of being tackled inside the 20-yard line.
And it's holding against the Bucks, and that'll move them back further toward their own goal line.
Number 51 during the return.
Alshirman Singleton, the man guilty of the holding for Tampa Bay. First half statistics. The rushing yardage, Vikings with a slight edge. The passing yardage is close. The total yardage is almost identical.
And the Tampa Bay has the clock, time of possessions, but has 0 touchdowns. And this big turnover ended up a touchdown immediately to Randy Moss. So Alstott, unfortunately, of all people, fumble on a reception and turn that into 7 points.
The Bucks start from their own 9-yard line with Alstott and Dunn in the backfield. Dunn in motion. And Dilfer throwing on first down. Fires to Bert Emanuel, his 6th reception of the game. Good start to his Tampa Bay career for the fifth-year wide receiver, Bert Emanuel.
Well, we wondered why they would pay so much money for Bert Emanuel. Maybe they knew a whole lot more about him than we did, although this is a zone runoff, not very good coverage. Corey Fuller was just taking the deep route, turning the inside route over to other people.
Jerry, I liked him a lot in Atlanta. I thought he was a real good receiver, could go deep, and he's started well. 6 catches, 74 yards.
And ran well after the catch in Atlanta.
Yep. On the delay, Warwick Dunn. Hit at the 25, falls forward. Orlando Thomas coming up from his free safety position to make the stop on Warwick Dunn.
And they like having Orlando Thomas back at safety. They missed him last year and think that's one reason why they were so bad on defense against the pass. And with Orlando there, they think they're going to be a whole lot better.
Vikings 29th against the pass in the NFL.
I was going to say 30th. Somebody was worse.
Yeah. I think it was the Raiders.
I know it was.
Patrick Hape, tight end in motion. On second down, the play fake. Dilfer looking, going deep. All the way downfield, incomplete. He overthrew Bert Emanuel. And Orlando Thomas was way back in coverage.
And he didn't have time to look. The safety bit on the opposite side, Robert Griffith took a bite, and he had the deep route open to the right side, but Trent Dilfer looked left. He was also open to his first read, so he let the ball go. But they really had 2 people open on that and just overthrew the long ball.
Orlando Thomas had a serious knee operation late in the '96 season. They feel he's close to 100% physically. Bucks 2 for 5 on third down. This is third and long. Blitz coming. Flags go down.
Woo. Robert Griffin was going to sack him.
Delay. Offense.
Didn't get the playoff in time.
Well, that helps Tampa Bay, because if Tampa Bay, if they would have got the ball off, they were sacked. They had him outnumbered. Had 4 people on the split inside, and Robert Griffin was running free, untouched.
Last season, the Bucks got off to a great start. Won their first 5 games, and it really carried them into the playoffs as they went 10-6. Their first game of the season last year against San Francisco in Tampa. The Bucks winning gave them a lot of confidence and a springboard. Tough start to this season. 5 penalties for the Bucks in the game. 3rd and 14. Dilfer gets time for Bert Emanuel.
What a throw.
First down. Emanuel looks like he may be shaking up a little bit. He's holding that left leg. First down, Dilfer's pass is incomplete. Bert Emanuel had to be helped to the sidelines with the left leg injury. We'll try to get a report as quickly as possible.
Well, you never come to a Viking game that you don't watch 24 Robert Griffith. Robert Griffith is one of the finest hitting safeties. We've been talking about John Lynch. Guess what? There's 2 in this game that'll strike you as good as anybody in the league. Watch number 24 come over. Ball's here. He doesn't care. Look where he's going, and he will splatter that wide receiver.
Well, what a great time to welcome in the guy who did just splatter the receiver, former Viking safety Robert Griffith. Have you heard yourself described that way before, like splattering a guy?
No, maybe, you know, put a hit on or something like that.
Yeah,
but
right.
Splatter, never splatter.
What do
How
you
are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for joining us here on Vikings Replay. What do you remember most about, you know, the second half of that game's defensive efforts, especially those 2 hits you had there in the 3rd quarter?
Well, I remember knowing that at halftime we went in and it was a tight game. So I knew that, you know, 1 turnover or something to that effect was going to change the outcome. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was being as aggressive as possible and not blowing any coverages. And so that was what my mindset was second half.
What do you remember most about the defensive unit as you guys started out the season?
You know, I thought that we started fast because we were getting up on a lot of players, a lot of teams. So because of our explosive offense, we had an opportunity to play from a lead and you know, it's a lot easier playing from a lead all the time. And so I felt like we were a little bit front runner-ish early, and then we got tested in the middle of the year, and we became really opportunistic. Jimmy Hitchcock had a phenomenal year that year. Orlando Thomas, I think I had my career high in interceptions. So, and then Johnny Randle was absolutely unstoppable. Nobody blocked Johnny that year.
Versus the best hang time in the NFL. Barnhart punt will stay up.
It's up there, fair catch for Palmer at the 22-yard line. The Minnesota Vikings in control of the game, leading 21-0 after the punt by Tommy Barnhart. Vikes on offense, first time second half at their own 23-yard line. With a 21-0 lead, Evans and Smith in the backfield. Play fake, Johnson throwing behind Jake Reed. Pressure on Brad Johnson that time. The word on Bert Emanuel from the sideline is a sprained ankle. He was taken to the locker room for x-rays. Here's how it happened.
Watch the left ankle. He actually sat down on his own ankle, didn't he? Sort of sat down when he got pushed, and you can tell he's in pain. Hope he's okay. Hope it's just a sprain.
Strong game for Bert Emanuel. 7 catches. Smith gets to the outside. He's got room. And he is brought down. Charles Mincy closed to stop him at the 47-yard line.
Well, if you're sitting in your living room, get up on the edge of your couch because they're going to pull right at you. The Vikings offensive line is pulling, and they're going to run at you right in your couch. So get ready. You may have to shed a block, and Smith follows them. Here they come. They're coming around the corner. Randall McDaniel does the kick out. There's the center, Jeff Christie, and away he goes. A good job of following. Not many teams pull the center. Pull Jeff Christie and Randall McDaniel out around the corner.
25-yard pickup for Robert Smith. 3 wideouts in the game. Smith gets hit at midfield. Big hit on the play.
Wow. Lynch came in after this one. Now they're pulling David Dixon, the right guard. He pulls out around, and when the back Smith tries to cut back, him and Lynch make a heck of an impact. Watch the safety. He's going to walk up here. Safety's going to make the big play. 47, John Lynch. 71's pulling. Here comes Lynch. Wow. They're smacking each other. Hard hat day. How about Lynch's brother? He's in professional baseball.
He's playing A-ball in the San Diego Padres organization. Left-handed pitcher. Blitz on. And he got him. Down goes Brad Johnson. Whistle blew. The blitz works for Tampa Bay. Anthony Parker, the left corner, firing through to take down Brad Johnson. First sack of the game.
Not only that, the first time really quarterback pressure on either quarterback in this ballgame. Anthony Parker will come right through here off this side. Oh my gosh, it was Leroy Horde. He outdanced Leroy Horde. He didn't overpower him or run over him. He jukes him inside. He's going to juke him one way, and really it's called a matador. And matadored the protection of Leroy Horde.
Vikings at their own 41 have to get to the Bucs 42-yard line for a first down. See the Bucs last season with 44 sacks. And this is their first of the game. Vikings offensive line has done a great job. Johnson on third and long. Lays it up there. It wobbles. It's an interception by Charles Mincy. Mincy bringing it back across midfield. And down to the Viking 45. First Minnesota turnover. That was a wobbly throw by Brad Johnson.
And they did blitz. They blitzed Brad Johnson, but the blitz is picked up. There's really nobody crawling all over the quarterback.
Johnson lets it go. Did that get touched by Anthony Parker? It might have been. He got pressure. Mincy with the intercept and the return. Bucs on offense when we come back. "22-yard return after the interception by Charles Mincy. Each team with 1 turnover in the game. Bucs good field position. They need points. On the play fake, Dilfer short over the middle of Alstott. Alstott is brought down by Dwayne Rudge, short of a first down. Bucks getting that interception, had 10 interceptions all of last season. That's something they've worked on, concentrated on in the preseason. They had 10 in preseason, so an important turnover. Trent Dilfer.
Well, you get turnovers usually by pressuring the quarterback. That time the quarterback got his hand hit a little bit, but it's hard to pressure the quarterback without a blitz because the offensive line is so good for the Vikings.
2nd and 3 for Tampa Bay. Warwick Dunn. Oh, he's hit Ed McDaniel.
Ed McDaniel, wow. Middle linebacker used to play the weak side, would rather play the weak side. Doesn't like playing the middle linebacker, but he runs up through the one gap that he's responsible for. Here he is. This is his gap right here. Let's see if he runs through that gap. He actually came in there behind the center. Torrey Mayberry went to cut him off, and he jumped around to the weak side.
Well, this is what Tony Dungy told Pam Oliver. The Bucks were self-destructing on 3rd and short. Here's 3rd and short again.
Well, they've been running sideways rather than right at him.
Dilfer sends everybody out. And completes to the tight end. First down. Big hit by Torian Gray, the nickelback, but a big reception on the play by Dave Moore.
Wow, good throw, good catch, and as good a hit as you're going to find. Welcome to the NFC Central. This is what the Central is all about. You don't find this any better than you do in the NFC Central.
Back with us is Pete Bercich, former Vikings linebacker. In this game, you hear Glanville talking about just how tough the NFC Central is. I know you alluded to it a little earlier in the show, but Pete, just how was that division to play in?
It was fantastic. They called it the black and blue division for a reason, because we used to, obviously beat the living tar out of each other. And in this game, John Lynch at safety, he's a former Stanford quarterback, comes in at safety, and he lights up Robert Smith a couple times. It's a hard-hitting division, and the game was different back then. You could hit a wide receiver. There weren't all these protection rules. And so it was a weapon of the defense. On turf, we were built to play on AstroTurf. That means you have to have a lot of speed, and guys like Torian Gray, very good athlete, could cover ground, but at the same time, like Robert Griffith, he could really hit too. You couldn't just be fast and be a DB back then. You had to be able to hit, and that's how you separate receivers from the football. You can wear them down that way. Like I said, it was a tool of the defense, a weapon of the defense, of being a good tackling team, hard-hitting team. And I think in the NFC Central at the time, that was the identity. Run the football and, hit. It's a very physical division. That's kind of the identity, of the NFC Central at the time.
Robert Griffith back here on the Vikings replay, 98's season opener, and we just had Pete Bercich talking about the signature style of the NFC Central. A hard-nosed defense was the identity.
Oh, yeah.
How would you characterize the NFC Central?
Well, they call it the black and blue division for a reason, and that's what we were called back then. And I think it's because, one, you play outside in Green Bay, you play outside in Chicago, right? And then you have the two turf teams, Detroit and Minnesota, where you got the best of both worlds. So you got the fast track, and then you got the cold, snowy. And so I think that's the attrition that was mentioned in the black and blue. And we beat up on each other. I mean, these are rival games. Minnesota Vikings week against Green Bay Packers is a week you don't have to even speak. Like, everybody's on point, nobody's missing workouts, everybody's paying every attention to detail. And so it's that rivalry and that all the former hits that you've seen previous years, you want to be one of those guys that makes one that game,
What's an example of what you guys did in the offseason to make you tough enough, as you say, to play in the NFC Central?
I know it's a mindset. So with our old coach, Dennis Green, we didn't have a running test. I don't think people realize that. Most teams do. You came in shape or you got cut. That's what it was. That's what it was. When we got on our schedule on the practice field would be an hour and 15 minutes. We would finish practice in 51 minutes, right? So it was about that style of play. We're going to hit the ground running. And if you couldn't keep up, and deal with the tenacity we wanted to bring. That's why that's why we had the team we did, and because everybody was running fast and everybody was trying to hit, and it was pretty aggressive.
No, I had a hard enough time getting in myself. I only had one. Listen to this crowd, Sam. They're trying to help the Vikings.
Dilfer waiting for someone to get open. Nobody open. Dilfer runs. Look at the strength as he gets close to a first down.
Let me tell you what Dilfer was doing. I'm disappointed in the Vikings receiver. When he breaks out to the scramble to the right, the receivers quit running the routes. Nobody's trying to help him. Nobody's breaking clean. Watch in the end zone, and finally he says, I've got to do this by myself. He scrambles out to this side. There's nobody open. The tight end's covered. Woo! Everybody is covered. They got to get away. He's got to get away. He's not trying hard enough to get away. You're letting yourself be covered by Dixon Edwards. Come on. Help your quarterback.
Two tight ends in. Rhino backfield. On 3rd and 2. Flag goes down. Dilfer throwing to Lorenzo Neal. And let's check out the flag. He goes in for the touchdown. We'll see what the flag is. The Bucs are signaling touchdown.
Offside. 59. Defense. Lined up in the neutral zone. The penalty is declined.
Dilfer's down. Dilfer's on his knee.
Yeah.
They just went over to try to pick him up.
He got hit after he got rid of the ball. Limping a little bit. It's a touchdown to his former college fullback, Lorenzo Neal.
And he's got, you can tell the way he's walking, he's got a little hitch in his get along. Something happened. He's got the, looks like a knee brace on right there. Got a little hitch in his get along. He was laying down on the ground. One of his own players went over and got him.
What's that get along?
You know, he wasn't smooth.
Okay.
He didn't have that gait that you like in the Kentucky Derby.
All right. Michael Husted with the extra point, and the Bucs with a very important touchdown drive after the interception. It's 21-7. Back at the Metrodome, Michael Husted set to kick off for Tampa Bay after the Bucs score on the Dilfer to Neal pass. Husted with a line drive kick taken by David Palmer. Gooch gets a piece of him, and Palmer down around the 20-yard line. Trent Dilfer was trying to walk off, trailing by 2 touchdowns, out with their #1 wide receiver out of the lineup, and the quarterback going to the locker room.
And one thing you said, that whole drive was Trent Dilfer. That
Power.
entire drive, what?
His power.
234-pound runner, thrower, he did it all.
He's 3 for 4 passing, but a couple of hard runs down near the goal line. Bucs down 21-7, a little over 5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Let's take a look at that play again. Dilfer on the run prior to the touchdown play.
I didn't see him hurt there, but I saw him hurt on the touchdown play.
Steve Walsh and Scott Milanovich battled for the backup role. Here's Dilfer coming out of the locker room.
Well, he's limping though, isn't he, Sam?
Noticeably. On 1st down, Robert Smith gets a couple.
Back with us here on the 98 replay, Robert Smith. We finally get to talk about your play. I know it's been a lot of passing. We've talked about Cris and Randy, but you were such a big part of this offense, the motor of this offense. What does it feel like in that stretch of touches there in the 3rd quarter?
Well, it was great to be a part of it. I mean, again, we know that, Randy was such a weapon on the outside, and it really forces the defense to make a decision. Are we going to keep help up over the top of Randy? And if you're going to do something like that, when you have a play caller like Brian Billick, he's going to make you pay. And so we went to the run. The run wasn't, it wasn't tremendous all day long. They did a pretty good job. Very solid front, great linebackers, including another Hall of Famer and Derek Brooks, and of course John Lynch at the safety position. But understanding that those safeties had to loosen up, we had to be able to get things done underneath. And I think it was just an illustration of the way that Brad Johnson played the position, understanding that he could take those shots to Randy and that he would be able to go up and get the ball sometimes. But as Brian Billick liked to say, you never go broke taking a profit. And so he was very good at checking the ball down, understanding that with so much of the secondary back deep, you throw that ball underneath, you can still make some damage.
When you look back at that offense, what is the one thing that made it so successful?
Well, I think it was just that you couldn't concentrate on one aspect of the offense. If you tighten up, try and stop the run, you're going to throw the ball deep to Randy or hit Cris underneath or hit one of the tight ends underneath. And if you back those guys out, we can gash you with the run. So I think it was the versatility of the pieces and Brian really understanding, how defenses would try and compensate to stop us and just taking what they give you.
Here's Trent on the touchdown play. Oh, that was the play before the touchdown.
That's the play before
again.
He's trying to run over people.
All right. Welcome back to the Metrodome. Our apologies. We missed the third down play. Brad Johnson's pass was incomplete. Mitch Berger getting away the punt, but there's a flag on the play. It was roughed up. On the return, Carl Williams to the 44, but this is going to come back to the Minnesota Vikings. Going to be a roughing the kicker penalty on the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And the Bucks had a shot at blocking the punt. If you touch the ball, you can run into the punter. If you miss the ball, you cannot touch the punter. They miss the ball and bang him around.
And this is going to be a first down for Minnesota. Big turn of events.
Running into the kicker, number 53, defense. First down.
Did not touch the ball, then you cannot touch the punter.
Shelton Quarles is the guy who ran into Mitch Berger. That's Mo Williams. Excellent special teamer for the Vikings, who's down.
A little blood, don't you see? Did you see it?
The Vikings are without one of their top special teams players already, and Harold Morrow, backup fullback, who's one of their leading special teams players. Mo Williams is okay as he goes to the sideline. Sixth penalty for the Bucks, and a big factor in the game. Late in the third quarter, Minnesota with a 21-7 lead, but a big penalty here as the Bucks were about to get possession with some momentum going. Instead, the running into the kicker penalty allows the Vikings to maintain possession at their own 43-yard line. Leroy Horde, the lone setback, three wide receivers for the Vikes. Horde, strong run. Derek Brooks stopped him at midfield, but a good run by Leroy Horde. Good start to the season for Leroy Horde.
Well, I always like Horde, but Horde's in the game. So when Horde's in the game, this was a safety, has to walk down to try to take the run. So Horde is causing him to go to one deep safety. And that's why I said earlier, the poor rookie Randy Moss doesn't realize he's having success because Leroy Horde is running up in there so strong. They go to one safety deep when Horde's in there.
Picked up 8 on the play. On second down, it's Horde again. He's got a first down the 45-yard line. There wasn't a big hole, but Leroy made it work.
If he was a featured back on most teams, everybody in the National Football League would know Leroy Horde because he's not featured. A lot of people forget about him. But if you're the defensive coach, you got to stop him. I think Trent Dilfer's trying to tell the coach, I don't want to come out of the game.
Yep.
I think he's saying, don't pull me. I want to play.
I think you're 100% right. Leroy Horde, 6 carries, 27 yards. Vikings first down at the Bucks 45. Everybody out. Horde on the short pass and makes it into a first down inside the 30. Leroy Horde showing some versatility.
Well, we met with Dungy last night. What name did I ask him? What are you going to do with Leroy Horde? And Dungy looked at me. He goes, boy, he can pound the ball at you. And as I watched the film, that's the guy as a defensive coach. Both Dungy and I were old ex-defensive coordinators. We know Leroy Horde can hurt you because he can run over you.
Picked up 17 on the play to the Bucks 29-yard line. Now it's Robert Smith. Going outside, trying to find a hole. Not much there. Give you two different looks, don't they, the Vikings? Smith to the outside with some speed, Horde with power to the inside.
Well, they'll call inside running plays with Smith, but the minute it's closed or blocked out, Sam, he will bounce it immediately. Horde's like you and me. He's not going to bounce anything. He's coming up inside, whether anything's there or not.
Time winding down in the third quarter. The Vikings have been kept off the board in the third, but they still have a 2-touchdown lead, and they're driving. End of the third quarter, Minnesota 21, Tampa Bay 7. Sam Rosen, Jerry Glanville here at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, where the Vikings take a 21-7 lead over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into the fourth quarter. Pam Oliver on the sideline. Pam.
Well, Sam, the Bucs have amended their earlier injury update on Trent Dilfer. They say it's not a calf, instead that it's a thigh bruise. He just walked off the field and went into the locker room, yet the Bucs say he's still going to try to play today. Back to you.
Thanks, Pam. Right now, two key offensive players, Trent Dilfer and Bert Emanuel hurting. Johnson gets out of trouble, throws knocked away. Good coverage by Donnie Abraham on Cris Carter.
And a good job by Brad Johnson. It's an all-out blitz coming after, trying to make a play. All these people are going to blitz. Johnson scoots up inside.
Wow. How'd they miss him?
They missed him. What he did by moving up inside, the free man came out around to the outside. That was Chidi Ahanatu, was the guy that was forcing him to move up inside. Left defensive end.
3rd and 10 for the Vikings. Two wide receivers in. Charles Evans, the fullback, in motion. Johnson with time goes sideline and completes it. But way short of a first down.
Well, they're getting in the field goal range. That whole pass was to kick a field goal.
Jake Reed.
3.
Sorry, Jerry. Jake Reed with his first reception of the afternoon. And now the Vikes to try the field goal. Gary Anderson, who played last season with San Francisco.
I think he beat me one time in the playoffs. He's been around so long.
13 years with Pittsburgh, 2 with Philadelphia, and last year with San Francisco. And the first time in his career, he'll be taking regularly in the Dome. His try from 43 is good. Field goal number 386 in the career of Gary Anderson. He holds the NFL record. Vikes lead 24-7. Viking fans have a lot to be happy about. Mitch Berger set to kick off. The Vikes leading 24-7. 12 plays, 55 yards, leading to the field goal. Gary Anderson with a 43-yard field goal. Berger kicking to Riddell Anthony, who's 3 yards deep. Trying to find a seam, he does. Good return by Riddell Anthony across the 30-yard line. Brought down by Chris Walsh.
If Chris Walsh didn't make that tackle, it was gone. Good play by Chris Walsh.
Steve Walsh, the backup, is in at quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Trent Dilfer hurting.
He takes a helmet right on the left thigh. It's not the first man, it's the next man. Look at right there, Sam, right on the quad.
Pete Bercich back on the 98 replay show. And Pete, this was a moment for you where you were pivotal in this play, a play where the other quarterback is sent out of the game, Trent Dilfer out for the rest of this contest. What do you remember the most about that moment?
Really, I don't remember anything about it. And I didn't even know. I mean, because Dilfer played one more play after the hit, and then he came out. So I remember thinking, I wonder who hit him, right? I wonder what happened to him, because none of us, really knew. I think the coolest part of that segment there is watching, nowadays quarterbacks just step out of bounds. And back then you just didn't do that. So Dilfer tries to put his shoulder down and run over Corey Fuller. And if he hadn't hit Fuller and if Fuller hadn't hit him and knocked him back, I wouldn't have had time to get there. So you wonder why this league evolved and how it has evolved. Well, that's exactly it. So that's just pursuit. That's just running to the football, getting off blocks, and then trying to get a hit. And when when the quarterback has a football, you absolutely try to get a hit on him. I was fortunate enough to get a helmet in his leg, and unfortunately he got hurt. It got Steve Walsh in the game. He's a Cretin-Durham Hall guy. who later threw an interception to Jimmy Hitchcock, and I never got a thank you from Jimmy Hitchcock. No card, no nothing. So, you know, I feel pretty like I did a pretty big part to get him his first interception as a Minnesota Viking, and I never really got repaid for it.
Yeah, that's such a great point, though, Pete, because you don't see quarterbacks like Dilfer just put his shoulder right into him. I mean, you just don't see that anymore.
No, you don't, and that's because the quarterback position now is so valuable. It's a passing league, and you know you want to keep guys healthy. Look at how the preseason's changed, the whole thing. So discretion is definitely the better part of valor in this day and age in the NFL. But it was a different game back then. I don't know if it's better now or what it is. Just is what it is, and it was. It's fun to see and rewatch that game and just the physicality of how that game was played about 25 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, to prepare for this, to even want to talk about this, you went back and watched it. What were your thoughts while you were watching it? You know, especially now that you watch every Vikings game during the regular season currently.
I think the things that stood out, you know. How much bigger the pads were back then. You know, Mike Allstott, they had the big neck roll. You don't see that. The pads are so much smaller now because the game's about movement. Not a lot of formation shifts and motions and different things. You kind of just lined up and ran the offense. But more guys on the line of scrimmage, right? You had two tight ends on the line on one side. We had a linebacker and a safety on the other side. So the game was a little bit more condensed. It was running between the tackles, so not as wide open as it is today. But again, way more, I think much more physical back then.
So bad news for the Bucs. Steve Walsh is in the lineup. They've got a solid guy as a backup, but their number one guy, who was 17 for 25, Trent Dilfer, 207 yards and 1 touchdown, is out for the remainder of the game.
And Trent was trying to get that drive all by himself. He did an excellent job. Too bad he caught a helmet right on the thigh.
On 2nd and long, Walsh throwing incomplete. Got pressure, and the pass came up short.
And the pressure's going to come now on Walsh, going to come hot and heavy, down 24-7. Every play is going to be an all-out pass rush.
Robert Smith back here in the 98 replay. I'm going to have you put on your analyst hat for now, because obviously that's what you do all the time. So what, in your opinion, made John Randle such an effective defensive front? Like, I was going to say pass rusher, but just an effective defensive guy all around.
Well, it goes to his nickname, Motor. I mean, Johnny was just always on. And, you know, I'm just so glad that I was on the same team as Johnny. Just one of those light switch guys, you know, the type of guy that, you know, off the field as nice as could be. But once he got to game day, he was just one of those kind of guys. I shouldn't say game day, just playing in general, because he was like that in practice, too. And you could always tell where Johnny was anywhere in the practice facility because you could hear him. And when he showed up to game day, he just played with that motor that became his nickname. And, you know, the funny thing about Johnny, too, is, you know, he would really get in the head of offensive linemen. He would study the media guides, and he would learn the name of all the linemen's wives and kids. And, hey, how's Bonnie doing? You know, just really one of those kind of guys that, you know, would just get them thinking. And you know, the danger from a football standpoint of a guy like Johnny is you could line him up anywhere. So, you know, you have a dangerous edge rusher, and you can use tight end help, and you can use a running back to chip off the edge. You have a defensive lineman like Johnny Randle working from the interior, and those guys just aren't built the same way. Guards and centers just aren't built the same way as tackles. Smaller bodies in general, and they're not used to blocking guys like that have that type of not only explosion, first step quickness, but the lateral agility. It just makes it so difficult for him to block. Tremendous spin move, but the energy was just always there. Snap 1 or snap 101, Johnny Randle was always the same.
Well, John, we just heard Robert Smith talk about the research you did into the opponents to get inside their heads as a part of your intimidation tactics, we could call it. When did that start for you?
It started, I think, early, I think like 1993 or 94, going against a guy who played for the Raiders. Name was Steve Winooski. And Henry Thomas had told me that Steve Winooski was one of the dirtiest players in the NFL. And so I just by chance just happened to grab a player's guide program from Bob Hagan. And I just wanted to read up about this guy. I wanted to understand, why would a guy be a dirty player? Why would he do the little antics that he was doing? And so I discovered by chance that he was from Houston, Texas. He lived in a place called the Woodlands. And so when I went against him, he kept stepping on my shoes, and he kept doing it. And I just stopped, and I turned around, and because he was trying to be a bully, and I just turned around, and I looked him square in the eyes, and I said, listen, you step on my shoes one more time, I'm coming to Houston, Texas, to the Woodlands, and I'm going to find you and your family at a grocery store, and I'm going to step on all your shoes the same way you stepped on mine. And the reaction wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for him to come back with something, but instead he just stopped and looked at me and said, how do you know I live in Houston? How do you know I live in the Woodlands? And from that standpoint, I started using it. And that's how I kind of got to knowing the guys I was playing against. For me personally, when you go against someone and you kind of know more about them, their lifestyle, things they do in the offseason, things they do with their families, it kind of gives you insight into a person. And for me, it just kind of gave me the ideal, if this guy was the type of guy that's going to play 4 quarters, if he's going to be a guy who's going to not give up, or is he a guy just going to give up? He's just going to tap out. And so that's what I use against Tampa. I knew a couple of guards, and so I kind of knew a little bit about them. One of the guys, he played with my brother. I knew that he loved reggae music. And so it just kind of gave me insight into this reggae guy, which I kind of believe that a reggae guy was all about being relaxed, but he wasn't the type of guy that wanted to battle for 4 quarters. And that's kind of was my impression of the offensive line.
Vikings from their own 44. Brad Johnson, in his return from the neck surgery, has had a good day. Robert Smith, the lone setback. 3 wide receivers in the game for the Vikings. Cris Carter in motion. Smith weaves his way across midfield. A first down at the Tampa Bay 45. A lot of divisional games early. The Vikes are playing 4 divisional games in the first 5. The Bucs are playing 4 divisional games in their first 4.
I'd say this month's pretty important to the Bucs. I'll let you know. Remember that you said last year starting out 5-0. This year starting out kind of injured.
Total yardage close. Robert Smith breaks a tackle, picks up a couple on 2nd down. A couple of big plays for Minnesota. A couple of big penalties for Tampa Bay.
And this is Robert Smith finding room. He's not breaking outside. Now he's running up inside, and Lynch has to come up from the safety position to stop it. Starts one way, gets away, and there's Lynch all the way up from the safety, face on face. Good hit, but they're spreading the field. They're 3 wides all the time. So Robert Smith or Horde, whoever's in there, has some daylight. Horde's in there now.
Good day for Robert Smith. No, it's David Palmer actually in there on 3rd down. Here comes the blitz. The pressure, the pass is incomplete. Jake Reed was bumped by Donnie Abraham. But no flag on the play. Big time pressure from the corners.
And Brad Johnson had to bring this out. This is probably his ugliest throw. He had no choice. They're blitzing on the corner and the inside, and you can't turn loose a big man on him, and that's what happened to him.
Tyoka Jackson, number 97.
Yeah, Tyoka. Woo, he was going to hit him.
Mitch Berger.
Punt block on
formation.
Sam, they're trying to block this punt.
Last time they tried to block, they picked up a running into the kicker penalty. The ball is caught by the Vikings. Great job by Torian Gray down inside the 5-yard line. The Vikes are doing it all. No, that was Robert Tate, excuse me, got down in a hurry.
What a great day Gary Zahner's having. He's the special teams coach for the Vikings. He had all of his special teamers in new T-shirts for this game. Watch the play by Tate. Walsh is going to go by so he can catch the ball if it bounces. Tate can make the catch even though he's on the punt team because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers return man got out of the way, so it's legal to go in and make the catch. Great job by the Vikings punt coverage team.
Hey, Gary Zahner still wants to know why you didn't hire him.
He was selling Hondas when I interviewed him.
Warwick Dunn is stopped. Bucks starting deep in their own territory with time running out. Just under 11 minutes to go. If you joined us late, Tampa Bay with 2 big injuries in this game. First was Bert Emanuel, who had caught 7 passes, sprained his ankle. He's on the sideline with an ice bag. There's Bert. And in the locker room is Trent Dilfer with a thigh bruise after throwing a touchdown pass. He was actually hurt on the play prior to the touchdown pass. And the Bucks' comeback efforts have been stalled. Walsh throwing to the sideline and completing up around the 13-yard line to Carl Williams. Williams replaced the injured.
And Walsh did a good job getting this out. Watch this, Sam. Derek Alexander, the left end, is going to start up and come right underneath Paul Gruber. Up and under. Good pressure. The back had to sneak in there, Warwick Dunn, and help out. Or really, there was an instant sack by Derek Alexander.
Good for a first down for Tampa Bay at the 13-yard line. Patrick Hape, the tight end, sets on the right side. Everybody out. Walsh completes up across the 25-yard line. Looks like another first down. Again to Carl Williams.
Well, Steve Walsh got a little smile on his face because he got away with one, almost intercepted. They're working on Hitchcock, but when they come inside, you're going to find, oh, he almost got it. He drove the route inside, and the safeties came over and made the tackle. Jimmy Hitchcock was playing, trying to make a big play at the right corner.
Bucks have 2 tight ends in the game. That was a 12-yard pickup. Walsh checking off at the line of scrimmage. Allstott the lone setback. Blitz coming. Pass behind Williams. Had to get rid of it in a hurry. Robert Griffith blitzing from the outside.
Not that crisp RPM ball coming inside that Trent was throwing. This ball is a little slower and behind the receiver, and he can't reach back and get it. Carl Williams trying to reach way behind him, couldn't make the catch.
Bucks felt that they were deep at the wide receiver spot, but a couple of injuries have left them thin right now. Walsh with some pressure to the tight end Patrick Hape up to the 32-yard line.
And that was a nice throw, Sam. That's the best throw Steve's had. He got set. You could see the tight end turning inside. Watch the ball come out. Hape makes the play. Here's his best throw. Tight end right on the same number. They all stand on the same hash. The quarterback and the tight end. Easy throw, but he puts the ball where it's supposed to go.
Hape, second-year tight end out of Alabama. Steve Walsh 4 for 7. On a third down, an important third down play for the Bucks.
All-out blitz.
And he's got a man. It's Riddell Anthony for a first down up to the 44-yard line.
What a great job by Walsh. They brought the blitz. They came after him. He didn't get flustered. He knew where the open man was going to be. Nice job of keeping your composure. Rookies can't come in and do that, Sam. That's why your backup, you'd like to be an old veteran, somebody that's been in the trenches and has seen all these things 2 or 3 times.
12-yard pickup on the pass to Riddell Anthony. A lot of short stuff, but thus far working. Now the delay, Warwick Dunn. Grabbed on the ankle by John Randle. They pulled him down at about the 47-yard line. Pickup of 3 on the play. John Randle's been kept fairly quiet by the Bucks offensive line.
Well, they said they know where he lines up every single play. Their whole call, they find him and decide how they're going to pass protect.
Walsh goes sideline incomplete. Intended for Bryce Hunter, number 88. First-year man out of Georgia, just in the lineup.
How would you like to be coaching in the NFL? John Randle sitting in your office with his mother, wants to come as a free agent, wants minimum wage, and you can't get your team to sign him, and you're the head coach.
And who is that?
Wow.
Oh, sounds like
Sounds like a death
Jerry
wish somebody gave me.
Glanville story to me.
There I was.
Oh, man.
Well, that is just a wild story there from the announcer, Jerry Glanville, a former NFL head coach, and obviously someone who remembers you very well. John, do you remember that story?
It wasn't my mom. When I went to Atlanta, I remember like it was yesterday. I went down to Atlanta, and I went into the locker room, and Deion Sanders was over in his locker, feet propped up. Jerry Glanville turned around, looked at me, and just turned back around. And they took me outside, and Atlanta had a hill that the guys were running, and they just had me out there. They had me run a few drills, and I was in first place in every drill that we ran. But to hear them tell me that it just wasn't the place for me, and because I had done my research on their defensive line, they had a guy named I think it was last name was Green. He was a defensive end, and he was about 250. And for them to tell me that I was undersized, and they had the defensive end, a couple other guys that were about my size, but no, it was just me by myself. And I remember going back to the airport and just being in shock that it was, to me, the only thing I can compare it to is somebody going to the prom and with your date, and your date just leaving you at the beginning of the prom, and you being there by yourself. And that's the way I felt.
Steve Walsh can see the time clock in the end zone. Now he's calling out the protection. Steve's calling out the blitz. 57, they're all looking at Rudd.
3rd and 12. Walsh for Hunter, and it's wrestled away by Jimmy Hitchcock. Across midfield, a chance to go, and he's knocked out of bounds at the 25-yard line.
Hitchcock was waiting to get inside. Remember, the last inside cut, he tried to go for the pick. The safeties covered him up, made the tackle. This time he gets in there quicker and makes the interception.
Quite a play there from Jimmy Hitchcock on the fumble recovery. Robert Griffith back here on the 98 replay. And we did mention just how many weapons you guys had on defense, including Jimmy. What was it like to play in a secondary like that?
You know, we were really opportunistic, like I mentioned before, and Jimmy was a neurotic film study, meaning, you know, he spent way more time than most people would spend on film, but I think he went above and beyond. And so, believe it or not, he had Brett Favre timed out. He knew exactly, you know, when that ball was coming out. As you can see, he picked off a couple of passes that any secondary player would not have read and jumped on. And so Jimmy was locked in. I think that was probably his best year of his career. And we just played as a unit. You know, we communicated well. It was Orlando Thomas's 5th year, my 7th year. And so we were all in our prime, and we had the wherewithal. And then let's not forget Corey Fuller. Corey Fuller played out his mind that year. And so us four, I think that we don't get a lot of credit, but I think we had a really solid unit across the board with corners and safeties.
Okay.
So if I call him Mike, you know, I think I'm still doing preseason. But this, you can tell by the hitting, this is no preseason game. This is a real ball game.
A good game for Brad Johnson.
Especially after all he had to recover from, had to learn how to throw the ball all over again. Got engaged, going to get married in October. Great guy.
3 wide receivers. David Palmer, the lone setback. On 3rd down, Johnson with time. Deep in the end zone for Carter. Touchdown!
I don't know how Brad Johnson got that ball in there.
Back here in the second half with Brad Johnson. And Brad, I mean, we've talked all game long just about how special these receivers are. But the offense as a whole out to a 4-touchdown lead at this point in the second half, closing the door on Tampa. How important was it for this game to start out the way that it did for you guys in this 98 season?
Well, that last touchdown pass to put him away was trips left, speed left, juke, and basically it's a corner route to Cris Carter. In the corner, they had been blitzing us a lot in the second half, and they started getting to us, so we moved the pocket to score the touchdown. But we needed that win to get us off to an incredible year. That year we ended up going 15-1. But to beat a defense like Tampa had, with eventually the Hall of Famers and the great players and the great coaches that they had, and Tony Dungy and Monty Kiffin, like that was the spark to our season. We actually went 4-0 in preseason, and you knew something great was getting ready to happen, especially when you have, to start out your season with a 31-7 win over Tampa Bay.
Cris Carter, that was quite a move right there. What a touchdown. What did you see on that play?
Well, I was trying to read the defender, and I knew he had certain leverage on me. So I tried to use that leverage against him. And it's one of my favorite things to be able to do. Fortunate enough, quarterback was able to find me and then be able to finish the plays in the red zone. They say that all he does is score a touchdown, but that was a big part. Anytime I got into the red zone, I always tried to punish the defense because they want you to settle for field goals. And if you can get that 6 points, it really, really damages the defense and their confidence. So I was very, very fortunate that he was able to get it in there to me, and I was able to finish the play.
Cris Carter, what a career he's had. For a couple of weeks, he was the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL.
Didn't last long.
Then Jerry Rice got his money. Cris said it was nice for a while, but Jerry deserves to be the top guy. 18-yard touchdown pass, Johnson to Carter. After the interception by Jimmy Hitchcock. That's another thing the Vikings have done. They've turned the turnovers into points. Carter, 5 catches, 31 yards. Started the game 7th on the all-time reception list. Riddell Anthony is deep. Pittsburgher to kick off. A great start for the Vikings. Berger's kick to Anthony, 2 yards deep. Trying to find an opening. Got away from Mo Williams, then got hit by Kylie Wong, and then taken down. Wong, the defensive end out of Southern Cal, turned linebacker.
4 wides.
Walsh outside of Anthony. Stays in bounds, cuts inside, looking for some yardage. And down at the 26. I don't know about staying in bounds there, Jerry. Time running out, late flags down.
Everywhere. All right, this was a double slant, double die. Fisher's getting after Rudd.
Rudd was one of the first men out of the locker room today. He was jumping up and down the pregame warm-ups. A little over 5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. As Johnny Greer talks things over. Vikings in St. Louis next week. Bucks in Green Bay. Johnny?
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness.
57.
Number 85. Offense.
Offense.
Still first down.
Riddell Anthony.
Wow.
I guess he got upset over the tackle. Something happened. Anthony lost his cool and gets the foul.
The way the officials were grabbing Rudd, he must have made the penalty on Rudd, and they were making sure that Rudd, the outside linebacker, did not retaliate, because I saw the officials grab the Vikings outside linebacker number 57, Dwayne Rudd.
Take the ball back to the Tampa Bay 13-yard line. Disappointing day for Tony Dungy. Quarterback lost for the entire 4th quarter. His top receiver lost earlier in the game. Oric Dunn. Brought down across the 15-yard line. Ed McDaniel, the leading tackler on the Vikings last season, and already starting well today. Bucks have had 11 penalties in the game.
That's more than what they usually get in it. They're not that heavily a penalized team.
Something you want to eliminate right away. Steve Walsh out of Miami of Florida. There's a supplemental draft pick, first pick in the supplemental draft by Dallas. Went to New Orleans, Chicago, brief stay in St. Louis. Outside, knocked away. Good coverage by Jimmy Hitchcock on Bryce Hunter. There's that matchup again. Hitchcock won last time. They tried him again, and this time he batted it away.
Well, this time they tried the out route, and he was driving the out route. He, being Jimmy Hitchcock, the corner, as quick as Hunter. He's got all kinds of confidence, even though he's playing way off. He's into his back pedal. He reads the route. Now he's driving before Hunter does. Gets his hand out. He's looking for number 2. By number 2, I mean his second interception.
Home openers, Minnesota, pretty good. 10 of their last 11. Lost last season to Tampa Bay here. Walsh on 3rd down. Flushed out, down he goes. Tony Williams. He comes in nickel situations as the pass rusher when Jerry Ball goes out. Second-year man out of Memphis.
And they like him a lot. They think in his second year, he's about as good as John Randle was in his second year. Now, will he grow and be as good? Nobody knows. But that was a coverage sack. No place to go with the ball. Walsh held the ball, and the pressure got there.
Tommy Barnhart got it away under pressure. David Palmer at his 48 spins. Trying to get outside. The Bucs got him. Big collision. And down around the 48-yard line. 44-yard punt for Tommy Barnhart. There's a flag down on the 18-yard line of the Tampa Bay Bucs. Check that out. Today's game is produced by Jeff Gowan, directed by Joe Assetti.
That's 2 good ones.
The associate director.
Holding number 24 during the kick.
Always have to let Johnny give his call. The associate director, Jacob Ullman. Technical producer Marvin Kale. Studios produced by Nancy Bernstein, directed by Peter Bleckner. Associate director was Lynn Hermstead. Brad Johnson has had himself a great day.
This is just 3rd down passing, 6 for 10 with 2 touchdowns. Not a bad 3rd down quarterback.
There's your man, Leroy Horde.
Well, now's the time.
On the play.
Now's the time, Sam, to pound the ball, eat the clock with Leroy. They'll try to just keep the clock going, keep running the big man in there.
The story of the first half was Randy Moss. He's been quiet in the second half as the Vikings haven't gone too much toward him. But in the first half, 4 catches, 95 yards, 2 long touchdown catches, 148, 131. Quite a debut in the NFL for Randy Moss, who is in and wide to the left side. Jake Reed wide right. Evans and Horde in the backfield.
As the game winds down, we asked all of our special guests here what made this 1998 team special, and their answers we think you will thoroughly enjoy.
When I look back and think about the 98 team, I think the thing that really made it special was just the leadership that we had across the board. And by that I mean guys like Randall McDaniel and Todd Stussy and Jeff Christie, Corey Stringer. I mean, that's just that's just the offensive line, right? Forget about Ed McDaniel and John Randle and Robert Griffith and all Dixon Edwards and the guys that we had on defense. We had a group of guys that held each other accountable. And because I think of that atmosphere with guys like Cris Carter and Jake Reed, we could bring in someone like Randy Moss. And like I said before, he was just an unbelievable talent, and he fit in so well. And then, Denny to have an experienced backup. Brad Johnson was our guy, threw 4 touchdowns in the opening game, so he was definitely doing a good job. But to lose him and have your backup quarterback come in and do what Randall Cunningham did that season, that's something else you don't see anymore in this day and age. So the depth of talent, and then I think just all around the character of the guys that we had. It was we made each other accountable. These guys were tough, and we just just came together, and week in and week out. It's hard to be that consistent anymore, but with that kind of character, I think we could.
Mindset and mentality, and you could be a great team on paper, but if your mentality and your mind, your team overall team chemistry and mindset. I know Denny Green was a big chemistry guy, but it was also the mindset of the team and what we got from the captains, myself, Cris Carter, Johnny Randle, Randall Cunningham at the time, Robert Smith, those Chris Walsh, those leadership roles and those positions were solid. They were the hardest working guys on the team, and that permeated all the way through. And so the best teams, the Ray Lewis team of 2000, is the mindset and the team mentality. That's what wins.
The unique thing about it was that team, it was like we were all on the same page. The season, for the 98 season, it went so smooth. There wasn't any disruptions. There wasn't any, everybody just stuck, we just all gelled. And every week we had guys on the team that were kind of knew their roles. There were guys when teams seemed tired. There were guys who just knew how to uplift the guys. Everybody just really just gelled. You enjoyed coming to work. You enjoyed each other's company. It really was like a family. And even to this day, I still have so much love and respect for all the guys. And I can go 5 years without speaking to some guys, and we get together, and it just picks up like it's a family reunion. And that's the way, for me personally, that's the way it was for 98. And it was just a special year. And oh my God, it just, we looked, on defense, we looked for our offense to just get out there and score points, get ahead, and give our defense a chance to go out there and make some plays. And God, with Cris and Randy Moss coming to the defense side of the ball, because you don't get too many receivers who come to the defense side of the ball and tell you, hey, go out there and get that football back for us. Come on. That was Randy and that was Cris. And everybody just kind of knew what we needed from each other. And I think that was made the 98 season so special.
Well, I think the team overall, we had been offensively very, very effective the last several seasons. But the ability to add a healthy Robert Smith, adding a dimension like Randy Moss, Randy's going to go on to score 17 touchdowns. And the most underrated part about it, because people talk about the exchange from Brad to Randle and the offense, but our offensive line, they were so amazing. They were the most underrated offensive line. I think we had 3 players go to the Pro Bowl that year. And they allowed us to do so many things in pass protection that we didn't have to keep a tight end to block. We didn't have to keep a running back to block. There was no mismatch. A guy would, his play was subpar that they would try to attack him. So the combination of those things in Brian Billick's mind, those things led to record-breaking numbers and success of that 1998 offense.
Well, I think that it was a belief in what we had and an understanding of what we had. And there was just a different level of concentration, different level of commitment. But there are also no egos involved. I think everybody involved just understood that it really does take a team. 11 guys on the field at a time. And on the defensive side of the ball, guys playing with energy, getting turnovers. And then on the offensive side, understanding, hey, there's only one ball, a lot of talent, and you want to distribute it as much as you can. Again, take what the defense gives you. But it was just the most perfect example of a team really coming together, understanding what we had, and going out and just playing with fire every week.
I think Denny Green had just built us to that point. We had a tremendous defense, had great on special teams, 2 great kickers. Offensively, we had one probably the best offensive line in football with, Cod Stussy and Randall McDaniel and Jeff Christie and Dave Dixon and Corey Stringer, then the running backs Leroy Horde and Robert Smith. It was just a loaded, talented team that loved football, that played for each other, and just wanted greatness from each other every day in practice, and then carried over to games. It was just an extremely competitive team day in and day out.
And with Brad Johnson throwing the football, it's going to be hard for him not to be a big factor in the league.
Pam Oliver's on the field. Pam.
All right, Sam, thanks a lot. Brad Johnson, millions of questions about your health today. You came out and had one of your best statistical games of your career.
I've been blessed. I didn't know if I'd ever make it back. The way the long offseason went for me, and I got my strength back. I don't know if I played a great game. I think we had big plays today, I had a lot of protection. Our defense gave us a lot of, they turned the ball over for us, and we had great field position, and we made plays there. So it was a lot of fun for us.
What are the possibilities with this offense? Randy Moss came out here and looked like he definitely belonged.
Randy's a man amongst boys at times. Athletically, he's got all the skills in the world. Once he figures out the system and keeps learning, keeps working, he's going to be unbelievable. He's still learning under Cris and Jake, and it's fun to play with those guys, not because they make so many plays, but because they work so hard in practice, and they come out here and do the same thing.
Congratulations, and congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's go back to Sam.
Thanks, Pam. The Minnesota Vikings, with Brad Johnson throwing 4 touchdown passes, win it 31-7. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you so much to all of the players who joined us here for the 98 replay, and of course to Mark Rosen. You were there as well for this special season. We just heard from all of them about what made this such an amazing run. When you were covering the team, what do you remember most about the 98 squad?
Well, the personalities on the football team. The offensive line, which normally, as you know, Tatum, they're a pretty quiet group. This was not a quiet group with Jeff Christie, Randall McDaniel, and Corey String. They had a personality throughout the entire locker room. I think what cemented the legacy for that team was the Monday night game when Randy Moss went off on the Packers. It changed not only what the Vikings were doing, it changed the way the Green Bay Packers had to draft players from then on out, because we're going to have to deal with this guy for years. We have no one that can cover him. But just the sheer joy of having that offensive explosion all the time, and Denny Green's influence on the team, big personalities everywhere, and the fans just, it doesn't normally engulf players like that, and they did. That team was part of our fabric in this community.
That's amazing. I love the way you describe that, because look at us now in 2023 still talking about just how remarkable that team was.
It was remarkable, and it made it all the more heartbreaking, but at the same time, those guys deserved a shot at it. It's too bad, but they gave us thrills all year long, and it really set the table for where we are today.
Yeah, for sure.
Without that 98 team, we don't have Justin Jefferson. We don't have, and the comparisons continue, and what the legacy of those guys continue on because of what they were able to accomplish that year.
Exactly. We still talk to so many of these guys that were on the show today.
Fun.
Again, big thank you to all of them. Thank you, Mark, for being here in studio for us. We hope that you enjoyed this 1998 Vikings replay of their season opener. Our season opener is just around the corner, and we can't wait to see you back at US Bank Stadium for the Bucs.
The Tampa Bay Bucs.
The irony. Thanks for watching.
Caught at the 5. Alexander Madison with a burst. Looking to the left, fire.